Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video with myself, Hydra. Here we are on Roll Corruption, introducing some of our players' characters for our forthcoming campaign, starting only on Friday at 8:15 PM GMT. This will be streamed on YouTube. I perhaps even will find a way to stream it on Facebook simultaneously, and maybe Twitch, we'll see. Today's video is going to be an introduction primarily to the characters that have been created. We will not be delving deeply into backstory. With a few players fairly new to TTRPGs and a mixed cast that will be rotating in and out, we will not be delving into, let's say, novel levels of character depth just yet. The aim being to gradually expand how they connect to the world and what is going on around them. And so, let us start with Celeb Splitbeard. Celeb is a dwarven merchant. You'll often find him running around town evaluating the goods of the locals, perhaps even evaluating his own via his cart. He'll often be keen to show it off around town, as with his mule. And on the rare occasion he were to have a day off, you might even find him studying black powder weapons or steam-related technology, for he's quite keen to introduce it into the town, perhaps as a means to bolster the mining expeditions, or even just to improve on general trade. But that being said, Celeb is a grey dwarf, and as such he's often found trying to seek the approval of the local dwarfs from the other Carracks. And let us move on to our next delightful player, Lothar, a human racketeer, which is to say, perhaps someone of a more criminal nature. Perhaps. It's often slightly more grey in this setting, I would say. He's often found doing odd jobs for coin, gathering the latest gossip and rumours around town. And if he has a day off from doing that, he'll be found within a tavern, again gathering information, maybe even trying to make contacts and connections. His aims being to run a successful business empire, for the benefit of his gang members at least. One could even consider him to be an aspiring mafia, perhaps kingpin. We shall see. And next we move to the oh-so-not stereotypical Dwarf Slayer, who is, of course, somewhat stereotypical and perhaps one of the best tropes of fantasy, so it's always a pleasure to have one within the party. Skullplate Helm Splitter is, of course, as said, a Dwarven Slayer. He's often trying to find his doom, or drinking, and preferably both. He's often grumbling about not being dead, and any day where he's not found his doom is not a good day in his books. And if he were to take a day off from grumbling about such matters, he would be busy drowning his sorrows in lots of ale. If he were to be given all the coin in the world, he would promptly tell you to go shove it somewhere, as it would get in the way of him finding an appropriate death. Truly a cliché, perhaps he will even help to keep the rest of the group alive. We shall see. And now we move to Sigurd, whose full name is Sigurd Heinrich von Heisenberg from Nuln. And if the name hasn't given that away, we have a human noble. He's often found conversing with the different people in Tarm to see how they're doing and find out what their grievances are, especially against the local lord. He's often seen conversing with his confidant and bodyguard, most of the time ensuring his clothes aren't filthy, or at least not entirely filthy. And if there were to be a random bit of trivia he would share with you over an ale, or perhaps even a whiskey, it would be that his left middle finger was blown off by a desperado attempting to rob a Nuln stagecoach. Presumably some black powder was involved. And in Tarm, if he were to be having some quiet time, he would enjoy some whiskey, most likely with his servants, and trying to avoid dysentery. He would even enjoy the odd strategy game with this servant. and perhaps even the opportunity to discuss politics, intrigue, or brush up on his stallion. If he were to be in charge of the town, and rest assured he would like to be, he would aim to lower the taxes, perhaps even improve the quality of life of the locals. Trade relations, defence. He's certainly ambitious, and has a few choice things to say about the local Tal worshippers who have driven the last few blacksmiths out of town. And moving on, we come to Reinhard. Somewhat lyrically similar to Siegfried, but not related. Reinhard is a toll collector, a road warden, and one of the few within town. He's found keeping the roads safe, as it would go for such a career, or perhaps even charging a few coin here and there for his services. If there was some random trivia he would share with you over a drink, well, it would be that he's seen his fair share of beatdowns and repeated knocks to the head, and as such he's been left with some eye trauma, both now being bloodshot. On a day off, should he not be performing his duties, he would be catching up with folk around the town, most likely within taverns, drinking, listening to gossip. He has a specific interest, understandably, in the stories of the woods outside from the wall. And he is a man of few words, however, but he still likes listening to stories, despite the fact that he feels like he's seen perhaps a little too much. He keeps his eye on the woods and perhaps even indulges in a degree of hunting, or poaching as it should be called from time to keep his skills sharp. And if he were to be granted a seat of power, though traditionally a man that would not question the status quo, with many of his fellow road wardens disappearing, he's beginning to question the town's leadership and perhaps even joining in with whispers as to what may be done about it. And now we shall move on to a more medical man, Lazarus Black. An apothecary fairly fresh in his career. Not welcomed in the nearby towns and their physician guilds, he has found his home within Tarm, which currently, lucky for him, does not have a physician nor a guild. And so, he finds himself often making potions for the locals, tending to the sick and the wounded. You will certainly notice him by his plague doctor mask that he rarely removes. Within it contains dried flowers, herbs, or sometimes even a vinegar sponge. He often indulges in extracurricular activities on his day off, finding his primary source of income somewhat lacking. He is at least willing to listen to opportunities for adventure. If he were to come across some coin, he would most likely invest it in the foundation of some sort of hospital, pharmacy facility, as perhaps he is caring, or perhaps even he is looking for a way to earn money more efficiently. And next we have Rex Strangert, a human investigator, and if you are not sure what that means, the clue is certainly in the name. He is an ordinary-looking man with what would appear at first glance to be an absolutely average contribution to life. But he possesses a mind for solving life's mysteries better than anyone else, or at least so he would tell you. And this might seem like a trivial skill, but to those individuals that are wrongfully accused and those nearly burnt at the stake by the witch hunters, well, for him, there is certainly a good day's work and a good day's pay to be had. He currently wanders from town to town, looking for the next puzzle to solve. And if the price is right, he may even divulge the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our cast. We have a substitute too that perhaps will be introduced at a later date. I hope you have enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you all on Friday, 8:15 GMT. And of course, there will be a video coming out, most likely tomorrow, with an introduction to the setting, the glorious town of Tarm if you are not familiar with it, and for those that are about to ask in the comments, we are currently playing on Foundry Virtual Tabletop. This is a map I created myself, and something I'm pretty darn proud of actually. Good job, Hydra. Good job. Looking forward to seeing you all on Friday, guys. It's going to be great. Take care.